Hello everyone and welcome back for another Miss Ink Stamps video. I'm Cassie. Today we're going to be using some really great magic products to make a magic shaker. We're going to be using the Owls stamp set along with the matching dies. I love this set. We also have our Magic World. This one has matching dies as well. You also have the one big scene for the Magic World and one smaller one. We're going to be using the Night Sky stencil. This has 2 stencils in it and a couple of masks. We have our Lots of Letters die. That we're going to be using to make all of our little shaker bits. And then we also have the Postage die. This one is absolutely one of my favorites. I can tell you I use it a lot and I love it. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to do our stamping first. So I've put our Magic World. I'm using the smaller of the scenes and I brought in one of the owls. And we're going to stamp those out onto some Express It cardstock using some blackout ink by Ink on 3. This is just a really good combination for alcohol markers. And so I love that Express It cardstock, and the Ink on 3's blackout ink works really, really well. So I'm going to ink that up a couple times. I think I need to re-ink my pad. I use this pad so much and I've re-inked it so many times. So, all right, so let's go ahead and jump into our coloring. I'm going to speed it up here pretty quickly, about 4 times, because it's pretty basic. What I'm doing is I'm just putting down one color to start, and I've put that up on the screen for you. And I'm going to go, like I said, very basic. It's a smaller scene, so you don't need to add too much shadowing and shading, but I want to also work kind of quickly because I want to make sure that I get my darker color down and then I'm able to blend those out a little bit. And that's how I tend to like to work. I like to do lighter and then move on to my darker colors. Every once in a while I'll get a wild hair and I will do like dark to light, but that's usually with my grays. And as I've gotten better with coloring, especially with the Olos, I've kind of branched out a little bit and tried different things, which is really pretty fun. And I do really like my Olo markers. I use them a lot. I love my Copics still. I use those a lot. You just don't see it as much in my videos, but I do use them quite frequently as well. Now, one of the things I've noticed with the Olo markers is that unlike the Copics tend to dry out. At least that's what I've noticed with mine. The Olos have quite the opposite. They are so super juicy that especially when you're working in smaller scenes, and I apologize for my cat, but when you're working in smaller scenes and you're using just the tip, that ink just wants to come flowing. So you'll see me every once in a while just kind of stop to take a look at the tip of my pen just to make sure that it's not too juicy, and you'll be able to tell. It'll get really, really shiny, and if it does get to that point, it might drop a bit of ink onto your piece. So always pay attention to the tip of your markers, because like I said, sometimes that ink wants to just get to flowing, and like I said, very opposite of the Copics in my opinion, but I still love them both, and I use them both together. So super fun. And like I said, going basic here, we're going I'm just using a flat color mostly for the castle, and then on a fairly flat color for the roof of the castle. The only real shading I actually ended up doing was only on the mountain, and I think that was plenty because this is really just part of the background scene, and this is the smaller of the 2 scene images, so it didn't need as much. And I went with more subdued colors. This is a castle in the background, and then I'll bring in just a little bit of light to make it look like there's something going on in there. And then we can move on to coloring our owl, which is fairly simple. I keep it mostly white, just adding a little bit of those OR colors and then blend that out, add some darker, and then come back in with that lighter and blend that out a little bit more. But like I said, I keep that owl mostly white. My background, which I haven't made yet, is going to end up being fairly dark, so he's really going to stand out on that. And he's done. So let's bring in our matching dies. We'll tack that down with a little bit of mint tape, and then we can run that through the die cutting machine to die cut out all of our pieces. And I love that Miss Ink Stamps has been doing that, having matching dies to go along with everything. All right, so let's get our scene going. I have cut this down to actually 4 inches by 5 1/4, so it's a little bit smaller than the front of an A2 size card. And I'm just going to tack that down with some mint tape. And this is a Tonic magnetic platform, so I've got these little magnets that are going to hold my stencils into place. I'll bring in a blending buddy and then some various inks. These are the Simon Hurley Create inks. That one is Over the Moon, I believe. Yeah, over the moon. And then I'm going to bring in some Woof for a little bit of the texture and dimension on the moon. Which is so cool. You could make it look like an Earth too, or any other planet. So keep that in mind. It doesn't just have to be the moon. And then there is a mask for it also. So I've got that tacked down. I'm going to end up changing that out. But I brought in some mint tape to mask off where my water is going to be. And then I'm going to bring in 3 different colors to make our night sky using that night sky stencil again. So I'll start with this lighter color. It's a bit of a combination between pink and purple. It's called Triple Berry. And I'm just going to move that stencil up and down my piece of paper and blending that color into it, starting on the stencil and bringing it down. And then I'll take what's left on my brush and kind of blend that on there. I'm not cleaning off my brush in between, and I'm not cleaning off my stencil either. Now I'll bring in that Crown Me, which is, like I said, a little bit more of a purple color. We're getting close to the moon, so now I need to put down my mask. So I'll just put that down using the magnet and keep blending. And as you can tell, I'm doing about three bits of clouds with each color. So now we'll move on to Midnight Snack, which is a dark blue. And I'm just going to put this right over the top of that mask. And then we'll switch to a blue brush, but again, not cleaning off my stencil. It doesn't really bother me. Those colors are close enough that it's just not really a big deal to me. And then once again, move our stencil up. Try to make sure that mask stays put. And this background is coming along really nicely. It looks like a very pretty night sky. You'll notice some of the stars, or those could be snowflakes, whatever you want to make those in the background, kind of came through, but I'm working with the dark color, so I'm not as concerned about it. And then I'll blend a little bit more of that night sky, or Midnight Snack, all over the top. And there you have it. Now we're going to move our mask from the bottom, and we'll just kind of line that up where we already did some stenciling. And I'm going to bring the Midnight Snack in once again. And we're going to go real heavy-handed here so that that water looks nice and dark. And once that dries back, it'll be even more flat. The color won't look so splotchy. And I can't stop there. I do need to add some stars. So I'm just blocking off the water, and I'm going to add a little bit of gold splatter to the background with a little bit of water and some gold paint. And then we'll just add that to the background. I love how that looks. So we're going to let that off to the side to dry. And of course, because we're using a wet medium, Miles has to come in. All right, so now that everything is nice and dry, we can start building up our scene. I'm going to go ahead and glue down our castle scene in the background. And if you have not taken a look at all the amazing magic stamps and products that Miss Ink Stamps carries, you really should go check it out. If you are a fan at all of the pop culture magic stuff, you are going to definitely want to go check out what they have, because there's so many things. Lots of fun stuff. And so now I've got our lots of letters die. I went ahead and die cut out about 20 envelopes and also the little wax seals. And I'm just going to go through, add a dot of glue, use a pickup stick to put down the wax seal on all of those. I'm not going to end up using all of those. I just like to have plenty of extras, and then I can save those for other cards down the road. But now we're going to build up our shaker. And so I've die cut out the postage, the bigger piece of the postage from that postage die. And then I did cut down some acetate. Now, actually, this is projector film. And so I have this, I don't even know that people use projectors anymore, but I have the projector film. I bought it off Amazon years and years and years ago. And so I'm using it. I've got so much of it. And I'm using some rip and stick tape just to make sure that my acetate is going to stick nicely to the front of my, or the back of my postage die. And then now we're going to bring in some foam tape. Before we do that, we'll go ahead and put our scene down onto our card base. That card base is just some craft cardstock that I have. And as you can see, I think actually I cut that down to 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. I think that's what I cut it down to. And now I'm using some thin foam tape. Don't even remember where I got this, but I have this foam tape, and we're just going to put that all around, making sure that we, butt up those edges just in case I decide to put anything like glitter in there, which I don't. But if you're going to do that, you want to make sure that your foam tape lines up with each of your edges. And then I'll peel off that release paper. You want to do that before you put your shaker bits in there, otherwise you're going to end up with a mess, because just ask me how. Sometimes it bounces around and it causes things to go everywhere. And so now I'm going to take those envelopes and we're going to put those face down, because that's how I want them to be. You're going to see them when this is flipped over. And you could put these directly on, if you were confident enough in yourself, you could put these right down on your scene and then put your scene right on top of that, or your shaker right on top of that. But I'm going to put another piece of acetate behind it because I don't trust myself. And so now we've got this whole shaker window that I can see exactly where everything is going. You could use liquid glue, or you could use some more rip and stick tape, however you want to put that down. But this just gives me the opportunity to see exactly, and then I don't have to worry about shaker stuff falling all over. So there's just a little tip and trick for you if you're not confident putting your shakers together. And then we'll put our owl down, and then I need to do our sentiment. So I have a scrap of navy cardstock. I'm just going to use some anti-static powder on that. And then I'll bring in a juicy embossing ink pad and stamp out my sentiment. This is my favorite sentiment from the set. Sorry, this is late. The owl got lost. I've already used that and sent that out to my nephews. And then let that kind of cool down, and then you can wipe off any of that excess anti-static powder after you've heat set it. And then we can trim it down with our guillotine trimmer, and then we'll use some liquid glue to adhere that down to the front. I just love this. Those owls, that sentiment, are my favorite. And then I'm going to stamp the sentiment on the inside. Have a magical day. That one comes from the Magic World stamp set. And then I'm going to add one of the little letters to the inside also. And then once that's done, that's going to finish off the card. I really like how this turned out. So fun to make your own shaker bits, and fun just to make a shaker in general. So I hope you like this video. I hope it inspires you. If you do, hit that like button. Definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And big thanks for sticking around, watching my videos, using my affiliate links. All those things help me to continue producing videos. I appreciate you, and I will see you soon in another video. Bye, everybody.